Hey, what is going on, guys? Rudelinel here, coming back at you with another batch tutorial. And alright, now we're actually going to get started with something new here. We're going to get into a new mini-series all about networking and these command line utilities that we can use to get more information about the internet around us, or even our sort of like our nice humble abode, or maybe the network back at home. So, anyway, I've got a nice little document, sort of overview or rundown here that we can just breeze through to get us at least a little bit of a head start into what we're going to be taking a look at. But anyway, let's get started. Here's the internet. The internet is the WAN, or the Wide Area Network. It's this collection or infrastructure of computers all over the world that we can access and that sort of thing, and actually get information from. So anyway, the internet is built upon IP addresses, or these internet protocol addresses, and what these are obviously addresses. They're sort of like numerical identifiers that sort of get us from one place on the internet to another because we know to go from there. But all it is like an identification number. Now, these are separated in typically two groups, one being the public IP address and the other being the local IP address. But the public IP address is what we're going to be working on specifically in this video, but you're going to be wanting to know more about the local IP addresses later on. But anyway, let's dive right into public IP addresses. IP addresses in any form, though, always have a specific syntax. Now, these are made up of octets, at least I believe 4 of them. Now, these numbers range from 0 to 255. So you typically see them in the sense of anything from 0, 255, 255, 255, 255, and anything in between. So for one that I want to be showing you guys as an example, we've got 173, 44, 98, 225, and that is an IP address. Now, this IP address obviously redirects to a local area network right back here on the backside, and we're going to get into that very soon. But for now, I want to introduce you guys to the idea of a DNS, or a domain name server. So this IP address is masked, or sort of like replicated by an English alias that I kind of want. That's kind of how I want you guys to think about it. Like, let's say nullshell.com redirects you to this IP address because they are in essence the same thing. This domain name server, nullshell.com, will just go ahead and point to this because that's what it is. They are essentially the same thing. It's just sort of like this English term, or a URL, a uniform resource locator, or whatever. It's like the web page, the link that's going to get us there. So that's all there is to it. If I were to open up Mozilla Firefox, or any web browser, personally I just use Firefox, if I went to nullshell.com, there it is. There's the web page. But if I actually went back and instead typed in 173.44.98.225, that's going to take me to the same exact place because they are the same exact place. It's just as easy as that. But anyway, now let's move on to the local area network. This is the LAN, or anyway, the local area network. Now this is made up of multiple computers, or at least usually in that sense. Let's say we've got a router. Now the router is a modem, or whatever it is, whatever you're using to actually connect to the internet. It's your default gateway out into the world. Now, anything in your local area network typically has a prefix, or at least a specific way that your IP address starts. Normally, it's 192.168, and the 0 or the 1 here can typically vary. It could be 1, it could be 0. For routers, I normally see them as 1 for the ending octet. That can vary as well, I believe. But anyway, the machines, or the computers inside your local area network, all have this same beginning prefix, 192.168. Now, the last couple of numbers may vary as usual, but each one obviously has a specific IP address. They're all different, but they can all connect to each other in specific ways because they have this identification number. So that's how it works behind the scenes. That's really all that it is. But let's go ahead and take a look at the command that we're going to be working with first of all, and how we can look at domain name servers and actually get specific public IP addresses from them. So if I were to open up CMD, I'll bring this right down here. The command that we're going to be taking a look at is Nslookup. Now you can see the root from this, NS, it builds right from DNS, or the domain name server. Name server lookup. So what we'll do here is go ahead and hit the enter key, first of all without any command line arguments or parameters, and what it will do is will tell us our default server. Now, for me, I don't have anything here. You guys might. From my understanding, it's just sort of like the name or sort of like the title for your workspace or your server or your router, and the address is going to point to your router. So in my case, it's 192.168.1.1. But first thing, Nslookup actually throws us into this interactive shell, or this new little console separate from our command prompt, cmd.exe. So we can go ahead and run help in here to see what it is that we're going to be working with. But before we actually take a look at all those, let's go ahead and run this, see what it does. If I actually type in any name server, like nullshell.com, what it will do is it will go ahead and tell us the specific public IP address that it actually is. So nullshell.com is it right there. Let's say I wanted something a little bit bigger. How about I want facebook.com. Now you have multiple public IP addresses because there are different computers and different servers in different locations, because it needs to, it's a big infrastructure, obviously. It needs to be able to bounce information back and forth. So Google does that same thing. Multiple machines, multiple IP addresses that we're working with. But there are IP addresses that you're getting, and this domain name server will redirect to any one of these. But that's how it works. You've got a name server, and you can look up a specific public IP address. Now let's actually take a look at these help sort of options here, because you can set different flags or options that will change the way Nslookup works. You can change sort of like the domain that you're starting with, or you can change how many times it will retry if there's any problem connecting to that specific location or DNS. There's a specific timeout if it takes quite a while to actually connect, that sort of thing. Now, I'm not going to run through all of these, in all honesty, because I just don't know a lot of what it does. I'm not all that proficient in this command, but for me, I just use it to look up a specific IP address if I need to. For you guys, though, if you tend to use this command more often than not, then dude, go right ahead, look up what this command can do, how to use it, because you very well could integrate this into your batch scripts and turn it into quite a powerful little tool here. But for me, it's a little bit more simple than that, and I really don't need to do all that much with it. Anyway, we can get out of our interactive shell by using exit or Control-C. Either one of those, exit, Control-C. Now, what we can do is actually run this without getting into the interactive shell, though. If I pass in the help argument here, you can see there is usage and how we can actually set this up. We have some options here, and they determine whether or not we're going into interactive mode or not. So if I want to go ahead and nslookup nullshell.com, we'll get right into it. We won't actually get stuck in the interactive shell, but we still get the information we need, returning the public IP address. So boom, we're in a good spot, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching, and get really excited because we're going to be taking a look at some more networking tools and utilities for the Windows command line in the next couple of videos. It'd be cool if you guys could leave me a comment, let me know what you think, maybe like the video, maybe subscribe, I don't know, it's whatever you want to do. But thanks again, and I'll see you again. How many times can I say again? You know what, I'll say it again.